All right, strappings. We have so many updates from Rodriguez to Rogers to Kepa. I know. To new staff coming in that people are really excited about. Zubimendi's been balling out. There's a lot to talk about. So let's start. We'll start with Rodrigo. It's the biggest story. It comes from Hand of Arsenal, who is dropping an exclusive with Rodra. And we've quoted Rodra before, 32,000 followers on X at Relevo, who also had quite a bit to say on Saliba and Rodrigo and what business is going to happen between Arsenal and Real Madrid. Hand of Arsenal said that Arsenal have made Rodrigo their number one winger target this summer. I tell you about Hand of Arsenal's updates because he's been pretty spot on with everything. Was one of the leading people in the kind of the breaking news around Sven Nipam and our pursuit for him in January, and has generally been spot on with team news and a lot of other things. Anyway, he's saying that Arsenal, have made Rodrigo their number one winger. And that's big, because I said in a video, I think on this channel, on the Goonerverse 2, only a few days ago, that my instinct was that Arsenal weren't going to do everything for a winger, but were going to pursue the striker and do the winger if they could. Have a little bit of a theory, as I've kind of taken this update from Hand of Arsenal, that perhaps Arsenal will go big on the winger and then get the more cost-effective striker, or they'll go for the striker they really want for big money and go for like a Leroy Sané type opportunity. And we spoke the other day, it was confirmed by the Athletic that Arsenal have held talks with Leroy Sané. So anyway, Hannah also says that we can exclusively reveal, along with Rodra, that the recruitment team at Arsenal are in unanimous agreement that Rodrigo is a player who could be the difference in the hunt for major silverware. Several key figures at Arsenal spoke to Rodrigo, including first-team players, about life at Arsenal, North London. Other Premier League sides are involved and have set out their strategy to lure him, but I'm told Arsenal will present a strong financial offer if the player is placed on the market. Will we be placed on the market? That is all down to whether the Club World Cup goes well for him or not. Supposedly he wants to play more football out on the left. That feels incredibly unlikely with Vinicius and Mbappe there, and apparently Real Madrid want to sign a striker, so Mbappe is only going to get more football out on the left if he's not playing up front potentially. And it feels like Rodrigo might want to go and be a bigger fish in a smaller pond, and Arsenal fans don't take offence to that. Real Madrid is the biggest pond going. Everyone is a smaller pond alongside them, and maybe that's what he wants to do. He wants his Alexis Sanchez type move, where cool, he did great things at a great club, but there's somewhere where he can be the main guy. Let's see. He wasn't the only one to say it, because if I just scroll through Sky Sports Lyle, if I just have a little look, Lyle Thomas, who's news editor at Sky Sports News, with nearly 60,000 followers on X, has said that Arsenal are interested in signing Rodrigo. He's high among the left wingers on their list, along with players such as Nico Williams, Leroy Sané, and Morgan Rogers. More Morgan Rogers in a sec. The guys want to sign proven quality. Now, what I will say is, Hand of Arsenal and Lyle of Sky Sports aren't the only ones to mention Rodrigo. Let's give credit to, I forgot his name, Sky Germany. How can I forget his name? I talk about him all the time. What's his name? It might come to me later. The Sky whatever. Do you know what? I can't be able to remember. The guy, Florian Plettenberg. What was that such a struggle? End of the day in that. Florian Plettenberg had been like really on top of this Rodrigo stuff, so credit to him as well. But there we go. Several sources saying Arsenal do want to sign Rodrigo. I think we're going to have to wait to see if he becomes available. Also, I'm going to say something you're not going to like. I think Arsenal will spend significant money on a forward this summer. I hope two, but I think they definitely will on one. I think we're going to have to, you're going to kill me. I think we're going to have to be patient, because I believe the club are probably waiting to see what happens with the Rodrigo pursuit before deciding what avenue to take on the striker pursuit. And they're not going to know about what's happening with Rodrigo until the Club World Cup starts June the 15th. And hopefully in those kind of opening 2 weeks, we get a good idea of what's going on with Rodrigo and Real Madrid. And I think if we do sign him, this could go well into August. So I got to say that I think if it's true that Arsenal want him, they will wait. Arsenal are no strangers to dithering in the market and taking their time. And if they think that's the absolute guy that they want. Listen, of every forward we've been linked to, Gyökeres, Sesko, Watkins, Kudus, Williams, not really Kudus, I should keep chucking that out there. Of all of them, Sane, everyone, Rodrygo's the best player on the market of every forward from strikers to left wingers. I don't mind Arsenal being patient if it means they get that guy, but I think they need a left winger and a striker. So how do they pivot? Do they go for an Ollie Watkins who might be available for 45 million because Villa have PSR concerns, as opposed to getting a Sesko or a Gyökeres? People are saying get Rodrygo and Gyökeres. Fine, I'd love Arsenal too. I think that's what they should be doing. They should have the money to do it. But this, I'm not going to get my hopes up. I know this club. So let's see. Anyway, that's the latest on Rodrygo. But there's lots of other really interesting stuff. Let's talk about Morgan Rogers. Where's the update? Here we go. From Gary Jacob at The Telegraph. Arsenal have added Morgan Rogers to their list of attacking targets. However, any deal to acquire the player from Aston Villa would be costly. So I had a moment where I looked at this, I went, yeah, like, makes sense. I think we absolutely need this kind of player in midfield. I think he's a real powerhouse who could play good ball carrier, but an intelligent footballer too. He could play in the 10 for us. He could complement Ødegaard and Rice. He could complement Ødegaard and Zubimendi, actually. I think he's kind of gives that balance along with all his attacking flair and quality. You could play him on the left. You could have him tucking in and have an overlapper on the left. You could have him on the right, but I don't know, he's played there for Villa. I wouldn't personally, but you could. You could have him false nine. You could do a lot of things in this Arsenal team. And actually, his profile solves a lot of problems for us. You could even, and I'm not saying I would be okay with this, but you could justify going big on a striker and big on Morgan Rogers and not sign a left winger, because maybe that's where you'll play him and you will tweak the dynamics of the team. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is the kind of player he is really fits what we need, so I can understand why we're looking at him. But I just don't think Villa, who've got Europe again, would do this deal. I don't think they would, because, well, I didn't when I first read it. I thought, yeah, 80, 90 million is what they're going to want. They are in a PSR nightmare situation. I'm not going to claim to be an expert on the data and all that, and the figures and the finances. But I saw a graph, and basically every club, most clubs are in the green zone, 2 or 3 are in the orange, and there's 1 in the red, and it's Villa. And I did see Sky Sports say that I think 92% of their revenue goes on wages for players. For context, I think Tottenham's is about 40%, Arsenal's is 45, 50, something like that. So a lot of their money coming in goes towards paying the players they've got, and they've got some really valuable players. They've got some players who are kind of, I imagine, well looked after too. I think there are rumours doing the rounds that Watkins would be available, that Emi Martinez is available for transfer. Maybe Morgan Rogers is too, and maybe they can keep some of their better players like Watkins and Martinez if they sell that one high-ticket item, and maybe that's Morgan Rogers. Maybe they get that kind of one big sale. I've got to say, on another note, I think it's crazy that a club like Villa, who've got European football for 3 years in a row, just played Champions League, I think it's crazy that they're in this situation, because other clubs have done a lot worse. And look at what Man United are spending, for example. But the problem is this is based on revenues and other things, and that's not just performance-based. It's size of club and stature and brand deals and all that stuff matters too. And that's where Villa are struggling, and something doesn't feel right about this. But yeah, that's the PSR situation they are in. Could Arsenal take advantage? I'd quite like for them to go in for like a Yuri Tielemans. I think we could really do with a player like that. But maybe Morgan Rogers is a fit and actually is a really good opportunity. When I heard we were in for Watkins, and I think they said Arsenal wanted to do 40 million, but Villa wanted 60, I remember thinking, 60? I thought with John Duran out the door, they were going to want nothing less than 90. So maybe that tells you that whatever the valuation we think Villa would place on this player, is actually a little bit more achievable than we think. I would really like Morgan Rogers. I think that'd be a really good signing for us. And I'd love us to go do it. Got my doubts, but interesting that it's made its way to Gary Jacob of The Telegraph. Feels like there's maybe something in that. And, you know, when you look at Ryan Cherky and what he just did tonight for France against Spain, lovely assist with his left foot. I think he scored a great goal, but I was at dinner, I didn't catch it. You know, you kind of realise, man, Florian Wirtz going to Liverpool, we need to add some creative number 10 quality. The rivals around us who have actually won the titles are recognising that they still need more creativity and invention in their team. We need to make sure we do that in some way. Kepa. Fabrizio Romano. Arsenal are informed on the £5 million release clause for Kepa as an option to be David Raya's backup. Initial talks took place to be informed on deal conditions, as Sky UK reports. Initial talks have taken place. Wow. Sky Sports News credited here. Arsenal interested in signing goalkeeper Kepa. Now, part of me laughs. Part of me laughs because I think just one summer where we don't sign a Chelsea player would be great. Just one. If it's Kepa this summer, it was Sterling last summer, it was Havertz the summer before that, it was Jorginho the season before that. That's 4 years in a row. And then you could talk about so many more, David Luiz and plenty others. But here comes Mr. Justification James, who just defends everything the club does, right? 5 million on a backup like Kepa. I mean, Real Madrid signed Kepa as an emergency 2 years ago. He was starting for Bournemouth the other day. It's just this season gone. If it's 5 million for a backup that has actually kind of played at a very good level and is still a good age, I mean, does that not make more sense than 25 million of our budget going on? Okay, yes, a significantly better goalkeeper than Johan Garcia. I get that. I totally do. And maybe, do you know what? Maybe I should just be accepting that we should be spending that money and getting quality in. But look, I don't love this. I mean, the constant links to form Sane and Kepa. It's when are we going to grow out of this? But I can somewhat understand this. We're talking about a goalkeeper here, not someone who's got to play regular minutes and cover in the squad. It's not like the Sterling stuff. Oh God, there's Willian in between David Luiz and. Okay, you get my point. We're such a hilarious club. We really are. Last two things to tell you about really, really quickly. So, Fabrizio Romano came in with this. Former Juventus head of scouting and Granada director Matteo Tognozzi currently in advanced talks to sign at Arsenal. He'd be a part of the team working under Andrea Berta. With Jason Ato leaving, maybe there's room for this guy to come in. I'm no expert, but you need to go read what Ben Mattinson, who's obviously doing the podcast with me on the Goonerverse, had to say. He said Tognozzi was head of scouting at Juve and had a big part in signing the likes of Housen, Yildiz, Sule, Barrenechea, Illing Jr. and De Winter. Juve's youth recruitment from worldwide academies, South America and across Europe, local around Italy, etc., was so good under Tognozzi. Gunner Blog and The Athletic confirmed this news. And look, there's a lot of people who are familiar with his work that are very encouraged. And maybe this is going to help us do better in the recruitment of young players. When you look at the Lokongas, the Marquinhoses of this world, players like that, we've not done well in this field. Maybe we'll do a little bit better now. The other thing to tell you quickly about is that Zubimendi did brilliantly for Spain as they beat France. I think it was 5-3 at one point. I think it ended that way. Should we check? Because if they turn that around, then bloody hell. It was 5-1 at one point. I think they pulled back to 5-4. 5-4, oh my word. Cherki, Vivian and Colomwani made it 5-4, but Spain were 5-1 up in the 67th minute. But Zubimendi played a lovely ball into Marino, played a lovely 1-2 before scoring a great goal. So Marino's still scoring goals, fair play to him. And then he played another lovely ball over the top, I think to maybe Yamal, which led to a Spain goal. So Zubimendi doing his thing and people were very impressed by him, which is good to see. Anyway, probably my longest Goonerverse 2 video ever. But there's plenty to go through there. I hope you've enjoyed this update. And I'll be bringing you more here on the channel. I'm on holiday till Saturday, so that's why the updates have been a little bit kind of end of the day. But you know what's been nice, because all the news has been coming in. So there you go. Those are all the updates for you. Catch you in a bit.